We have one announcement before we start our service today. We hope that you saw the Dia de los Muertos altar in the foyer outside the sanctuary when you arrived for services today. It's compliments of the Austin Sanctuary Network. Can you hear me now? Okay. We hope you saw the Dia de los Muertos altar in the foyer outside the sanctuary when you arrived for services today. It's compliments of the Austin Sanctuary Network. Some ASN members can't return to their homeland to honor their ancestors where they were buried and surrounded by the traditions of their communities. The ceremony will start at 2 p.m. today to honor loved ones who passed away, and you use our welcome to bring a photo of loved ones who you'd like to honor if you want to join us for the ceremony. ASN will provide simultaneous interpretation in Spanish and English. After the ceremony, we'll gather in House and Hall for a potluck of dishes our loved ones enjoyed most during their lives. Everyone is welcome, so we hope you'll come. Now please prepare yourself for a wonderful worship service.
Good morning. Welcome to the First Unitarian Universalist Church of Austin. Whether you are joining us online or here in the sanctuary, welcome. I am the Reverend Erin Walter, and my pronouns are she, her. It is a pleasure to join you today for the first time as your sabbatical minister. To support my dear colleagues on this ministry team, the months of November and December, and again, March and April of the coming year, I am so excited to team up with the Reverend Michelle LaGrave, who is here, and with my dear friend and colleague, the Reverend Chris Jimerson, who deserves all the time of rest and rejuvenation on sabbatical that he is going to get. For those of you who don't know me, I was on the interim ministry team here up until about 15 months ago, so it's just really a big joy to be back. Even today, as we hold an absolute Halloween cauldron of emotions about this moment in our nation and our lives. So I invite you to take a very big deep breath with me if that would be good for you. All things by consent. If something else would make you feel more comfortable, do that. Here we go. Here at First UU, we are a spiritual community dedicated to a free and responsible search for truth, meaning, and beauty. I especially want to welcome you if you are new to the church. It takes time to get to know people, so I hope if you're new, this won't be the first time we see you. If you're on the live stream, please say hello in the chat, and otherwise, if you're here, I hope you'll stay for coffee hour and conversation and food after the service. We come as Unitarian Universalists from a long tradition of seeing a spark of the divine in every person, and it's in that tradition that I invite you to greet the holy among us, again, in the comments online or by turning to someone in the sanctuary to greet them this morning. I know it's hard. I want to hug everyone. This is the joy of church that I hope you will take with you into coffee hour and then out into the world that needs it so much. So today, on the Sunday between Dia de los Muertos and Election Day, we have gathered your team, music from different cultures and traditions, as well as readings and messages in relationship with UUs around our city, our state, and our nation, so that we can honor today as we gather that we as a church are also not alone. The opening and closing readings in today's services are the same ones being used at our sibling UU congregation Wildflower in South Austin, where first UU member and my fellow Texas UU Justice Ministry team member Biss Thornton is in the pulpit. When we say we are in this together, we mean it. Welcome, welcome.
Good morning again. I'm Angela Smith, pronouns she, her, and I'm honored to be your lay leader today. I'm a staunch believer in separation of church and state. So I'm not going to say who I voted for, but in hopes my candidate wins the White House and the other candidate goes to the big house. In that hope, I'm wearing a white pantsuit, pearls, and my lucky Converse All-Star Chucks. Please join me now in the words for lighting the chalice. The words take on special significance this week. This is the flame we hold in our hearts as we strive for justice for everyone. This is the light we shine upon systems of oppression until they are no more. This is the warmth we share with one another as our struggle becomes our salvation.
I have been a Unitarian Universalist all my life, and I still struggle to remember to light and extinguish the chalice. We come as we are, and we do the best we can. I invite you into the spirit of worship with our call from Orlando Brugnola. Flame, friend of our most ancient ancestors, we kindle you now to make you visible in this time. Yet in truth you burn always, in the unique worth of each person, in the imagination, in the turning of the heart to sorrow or joy. in the call to hope and in the call to justice. Burn bright before us. Burn bright within us. May we enter into this space nourished by the love and warmth of community. I invite you to rise in body and or spirit for our opening hymn, number 368, Now Let Us Sing, in your gray hymnal.
One of the things that binds First UU together as a religious community is the common purpose we share. That common purpose is our mission. The congregation wrote it together and put it on the wall of our sanctuary. Every Sunday we say it together that we may remember it and carry it in our hearts throughout the week. Let's say it together now. Together we nourish souls, transform lives, and do justice to build the beloved community.
While they are getting set up, I would like to say a thank you to someone who is not in the order of service. Russell Holley-Hurt will be on mandolin, and we have Maddie Weston on voice and guitar, both members of our congregation.
Let's have some joy, y'all. 1, 2, well, you know what to do now. Two trees in the forest, one was crooked, one was straight. Crimson bars and emerald needles flowing day by day. And though they look so different, they enjoy the rain the same, side by side. Chickadee told them of the darkness on the land. Spinning blades had come to visit, carried by a man. And every single tree would see them struck down where they stand by and by. Can't you see? Crooked tree won't fit into the mail machine. They're left to grow wild and free. Oh, I'd rather be a crooked tree. Perfect trees were driven down the mountain to the mill. They turned them into toothpicks and to $20 bills. It seems the more the people took, the more they needed still in the end. The crooked trees were left there after all the work was done. Now they go for weeks and never witness anyone. knowing they had to tell them if they are growing right or wrong, but the whispering wind. Can't you see, crooked tree won't fit into the mail machine. They're left to grow wild and free. Oh, I'd rather be a crooked tree. People say we're different, that our way of life seems strange. Took the road less traveled, twists and turns along the way. But like a crooked tree, I'm growing stronger day by day, day by day. A river never questions why it flows around the bend. A mountain doesn't wonder why it grows up from the land. So who am I to not be just exactly who I am, who the hell I am? Can't you see, crooked tree won't fit into the mail machine. They're left to grow wild and free. Oh, I'd rather be a crooked tree. Crooked tree won't fit into the mail machine. They're left to grow wild and free. Oh, I'd rather be a crooked tree. Yeah, I'd rather be a crooked tree. Oh, I'd rather be a crooked tree.
Hello, everybody. My name is LB. I go by they and them pronouns. I am a human of very small stature and build, wearing mostly black, the skeleton, and some floral accents. Today, our story of all ages is going to be about Dia de los Muertos. I would like to invite the young in heart and soul to come up and look at the pictures a little bit closer. Hello, Kieran. Quite an appearance. Dia de los Muertos is very important to me because I am from Mexico, and when I was very, very young, my mom joined the land of the dead. And so Dia de los Muertos is a day that we celebrate everybody who has gone to the land of the dead coming to visit us. I set up my own ofrenda this year, and pictures of my mom were on there. This is actually it. You can see it. I live in a very, very small space, so it's a small ofrenda, but all the pictures of my loved ones are there, and we honor them by placing things that they loved so that they are happy to come see us. So today we'll be reading Abuelita's Gift, a Dia de Muertos story. Written by Mariana Rios Ramirez and illustrated by Sara Palacios. Julieta peeked inside the ofrenda boxes. Her eyes twinkled with the sight of La Catrina and papel picado. Is Abuelita really coming home? Julieta asked. Yes, Mama replied. Our ancestors' souls will visit us on Dia de Muertos. Julieta beamed. She couldn't wait for Abuelita's arrival. Julieta and her siblings helped set up the ofrenda. What are these? Mario asked. Mementos, Julieta answered, to tell stories about our ancestors so we always remember them. Papa picked up a spool of burgundy thread. Your bisabuela Cuca loved sewing dresses. And this, Mario asked? Abuelito Jose was a pilot, Lola replied. As Julieta listened, she had an idea. She'd find a special gift for Abuelita, one to make her smile and show how much she was missed. Julieta recalled moments with Abuelita. She remembered Abuelita's wrinkled hands, lacing delicate flowers into crowns they'd wear, pretending to be princesses. That's it, Julieta squealed. She tried weaving a crown, but it doesn't look like it came out very good. As she put away the flowers, Julieta heard chirping out the window. It reminded her of bird watching with Abuelita. That's it, Julieta squealed. She tried folding an origami bird, but also didn't come out the best. Julieta felt lost. With Dia de Muertos around the corner, she was running out of time and ideas. Deep down, Julieta knew that what she and Abuelita loved most was dancing. They'd stomp their feet to the rhythm of jaranas and sway their dresses side to side like ocean waves. Dancing together created a world of their own, one filled with warmth and joy. Julieta's eyes teared up as another memory came to mind. The day she stopped dancing and packed everything away. See, she put all of her dancing things in a box. Without Abuelita, twirling to La Bamba wasn't fun anymore. When Julieta woke up on November 1st, she still hadn't found the right gift. The whole family was busy preparing for the celebration. Mama and Tia Yolanda made mole and tamales. Papa and Tio Paco rehearsed La Llorona. Her cousins and siblings made a marigold path to guide the souls to the ofrenda. Everyone had found a way to honor their ancestors, except Julieta. Julieta gazed at her ancestors' portraits, wondering about their stories. But when she noticed Abuelita's, something wasn't right. Why aren't you smiling, Abuelita? You see her picture, she looks very serious. Julieta looked outside and noticed a girl and her abuela passing with a shopping bag. Julieta recalled her trips with Abuelita to La Feria de Dia de Muertos. They'd buy calaveritas and Abuelita's favorite, dulce de leche. That's candy. That's it, Julieta squealed. Lola! La Feria de Dia de Muertos vibrated with colors. Candies, chocolates, and calaveritas mesmerized visitors. La música and joyful hum of the crowd created a festive mood, but for Julieta and Lola, they didn't feel as magical without Abuelita. And when they arrived at Doña Carmen's, dulces de leche were sold out. Once back home, Julieta sat by the ofrenda. I really tried, she cried. You don't look like the Abuelita I remember. Your smile always made me smile. I'll fix this, Julieta said. Julieta rushed upstairs. Holding her breath, she opened her memory box. Inside, she found dance shoes, a fan, hair combs, and photos. That's my Abuelita, Julieta said. You smiled the brightest when we danced. See all her big smiles in all of these pictures? Julieta closed her eyes and twirled. In that moment, she felt Abuelita dancing right next to her. That's it, Julieta whispered. Later, the celebration began, and Julieta and her family enjoyed arroz, mole, and pan de muerto. Like always, the grown-ups told stories about ancestors, but this time, Julieta offered a surprise of her own. Dancing was Abuelita's gift to me, Julieta said. Now it's mine for both of us. As her family cheered, Julieta tapped and waved her dress. She found the perfect gift within herself. And she wore the matching dress with her grandma, the dress that they would wear together. With every twirl, she felt as if Abuelita's hand held hers. And in her heart, Julieta knew as long as she danced, her bond with Abuelita would live on forever. And that's it. So today, before we go out to the playground, we are going to stop right over here and take a look at the ofrenda that the Austin Sanctuary Network set up for us with help of Peggy. Thank you, Peggy. And we are going to use our looking eyes to look at all of the people who are coming to visit us from the land of the dead.
Today I remember my father at his memorial service, people were told to vote and how. We can't do that in a church, but I remember you, Dad, and I have voted. We will have a moment for stewardship now from one of our members. And I just want to say, as a minister returning to this congregation that I grew up in and looking out on the incredible vibrancy of our community and what we are connected to, our mission, I would, from the bottom of my heart, like to ask you to dig deep in this time of pledging. I know the dreams that you have because I listened to those dreams during the time of interim ministry about co-ministers and financial stability and programs and staffing. And so this is that time when we are renewing, deepening, growing that commitment. And I just ask you to think about that level of generosity that will reflect all of this love. And I'd like to invite Rob to come up.
Hey, good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
So my name's Rob Ruff, and I am your new co-chair of the Stewardship Committee. I am a 50-year-old white male with a white beard, and my driver's license says I'm still 5'11". So, and my pronouns are he, him. So I'm going to share a little bit of my first UU story, but it's important that I need to give you some updates on what's going on with the campaign right now, with the pledging. And I know you're kind of like, stewardship, we had ice cream last week, why are we here tonight, right? I don't know about you, but like during the second week of the NPR pledge drive, I start to go, maybe I'll listen to music today, right? So be patient with us because we do have some important news to share with you, okay? Last week we were taking a look at our data and we had to reduce our what we thought we had earned so far this year. And the reason is we found some things in the forecasting data that we realized, you know what, we're going to need to tweak this to more accurately represent what's coming in. So as a result, last week we reported we were at 85% of our goal, but the reality is we're at 80% of our goal, okay? So now, this is not like, there's no weeping, wailing, gnashing of teeth. We can get through this, right? This is, what we need to do is we still need to raise $157,000 to hit our goal of 125, right? Or no, 825, yeah, sorry. So I don't know about you, but when I've gone to other groups and organizations and I've seen those like fundraising thermometers and the campaign's over and I'm like, oh, they made it to 85%. Good for them, right? Seriously, it's like but what's happened as a board member and a new member of the Stewardship Committee, I've come to realize that $825,000 goal that we set is really about just keeping things going. And but it doesn't even account for the fact that we've had to make some very, very big adjustments with the budget in regards to there's really no big growth. This is keeping the lights on. This is keeping all the things you currently enjoy to the best of our ability happening. But, you know, we weren't able to give the staff the raises we wanted to give them this year. We can only do a partial raise. And we're not even able to fill a couple positions that are currently vacant in our staff, including one of them was an assistant for Brent, our music director, right? So I want to the reason I'm telling you this is because I thought getting close to 100% would be awesome. I now realize that getting to 100% is actually really critical, right? So, but I'm going to stop the appeal button real quick and share with you a little bit about what brought me to First UU, okay? I'm a relatively new member of the group. I showed up about a week after Reverend Michelle and just missed you by like about a week. And so, but I came here after being out of work for, well, at that time I was out of work for 6 months. But, you know, my self-esteem during that period of time was really taking a beating, right? It was not an awesome time for me. And I got to a point where I felt like I needed to get my spiritual pilot light relit. And so I did a little Googling and I found First UU and I came in with no idea of what to expect. It was the first time I had stepped foot in a church in 35 years outside of weddings or funerals, right? So, but what when I found here was a place where I could discover my spiritual growth without having any required dogma, right? And I was told that I could seek the spark of the divine in everybody, right? And all of a sudden I started to feel like, okay, I'm feeling more connected, I'm feeling more a part of. And then I had this amazing experience where the connections team, Carolyn came and told me about all the things you can get involved and do with at the church. And I'm like, okay, I'll be judicious about this and set boundaries. Yeah. So anyway, but what I found is a community that I didn't even know existed, and now it's a community I realize I can't live without, right? So, thank you. When the pledge drive happened last year, I'm at 5 minutes. We're going to go over about a minute or so, sorry. It wasn't an awesome time at the Rough House. We didn't have a lot of money, extra money. But, you know, I knew when the pledge drive came up that I wanted to be invested in the church, both literally and figuratively, right? And so we made a pledge. It was tiny. It was an itty-bitty pledge, right? But what it was is it gave me a little skin in the game and said, I'm here with you, I'm part of this. And also it invited me to be a part of things, including I pledged as soon as I could so I could vote for Reverend Chris to be affirmed, right? So we got that right down on the line. And I want to tell you that this year, it's been a much better year for the Rough House. And so we went and really changed our pledge, right, to what we always wanted it to be. I want to ask that you folks today, after the service, take a moment and just reflect and see if there's any space. You know, I know when I decided to give that little bit more, it helped redefine my definition of personal abundance, right? There's just enough to share, right? And so this afternoon, some volunteers are going to call you if you haven't pledged yet. And if you have pledged and they called, we really like you and we want to talk to you. And but also be kind. Right, be kind. These are volunteers that are reaching out to try to make sure that everybody knows and has an opportunity. And of course, you can come talk to us in House and Hall at the stewardship table with the yellow tablecloth. So anyway, as we navigate this upcoming year, no matter how it goes, I know my First UU is always going to be here for me. And on behalf of myself, I want to thank you all for being in my life. Thank you.
Thank you, Rob. This church really is worth supporting. This is the time during the service when we commit to the mission and ministries of this church by making an offering. We give out of our own so that together we might build a better world. If you are new or visiting with us today, please allow the plate to pass you by. You are a guest. You can give in a few different ways by going to austinuu.org and clicking on the link at the top right side of the page, or by texting your contributions to 84321, or by placing an offering in the basket the ushers are now ready to pass. All blessings on your gifts and all blessings on you as givers. Our reading today is from the Holy Work of Showing Up by Reverend Ashley Horan, the Vice President of Programs and Ministries for the UUA. She wrote this just before the 2016 election when she was director of Side with Love. You are loved beyond belief. You are enough. You are precious. Your work and your life matter, and you are not alone. You are part of a great cloud of witnesses, living and dead, who have insisted that this broken, beautiful world of ours is a blessing worthy of both deep gratitude and fierce protection, whatever happens tomorrow. Our ancestors and our descendants are beckoning us, compelling us onward toward greater connection, greater compassion, greater commitment to one another and to the earth. Together, we are resilient and resourceful enough to say yes to that call, to make it our life's work in 1,000 different ways, knowing that we can do no other than bind ourselves more tightly together and throw ourselves into the holy work of showing up again and again to be part of building that world of which we dream, but which we have not yet seen.
Will you join me in the spirit of prayer or meditation, connection to that which is deep and true for you? Our prayer this morning is an excerpt from the Reverend Kristen Grossel-Schmidt, who does not live in Texas, but whose father-in-law is a member of our church. We have gathered this morning with gratitude for all that has brought us to this day, this moment, this breath. Let us never forget that we serve our neighbors, our values, our free faith in the spirit of the many who have gone before us, who made ways where there was no way, who left legacies for us to remember, to follow, to emulate. As we prepare for the week ahead, let us pray that the fire of commitment, the spirit of truth, love, and justice that was in those ancestors goes with us. God of many names and beyond all naming, Spirit of life, breath of love, in this time when so many stakes feel so high, help us remember that no season lasts forever, that the days of the greedy and powerful are numbered, that there is a force at work in our world and among us that lifts up the oppressed and fills the hungry. Amen. Ashe, and blessed be. We will take a moment of silence. After the chime rings, if you are so moved, I will invite you to come to the walls of candles, light one for any joys, sorrows, hopes, remembrances, or resilience as the music plays. But first, some sacred silence, knowing that the sounds of our bodies count as sacred. The waiting is the hardest part. Every day you get one more yard. You take it on faith, you take it to the heart. The waiting is the hardest part. I walk my dog and I think that song right now. And I love our patron saint, Tom Petty, but I don't actually agree with that sentiment. As hard as waiting is, the hardest part is losing women who die without abortion care. The hardest part is our trans families who aren't here anymore because they had to leave the state. The hardest part is the militarization of our beautiful border communities here in Texas. It's war, it's voter suppression and intimidation, it's mass shootings. That's the hardest part. And still we sing. And I want to talk about what we can do in the next couple days, because I know we are tired. But this isn't the hardest part. The work we do today is what we're going to do to stave off the hardest part. So I need you to gather your spirits this morning for a couple more days, and more, really. But let's focus on the next couple days. So let's talk about singing for a second, and let's talk about not being in this alone. So on Friday morning, I got on Zoom in between dropping my daughter at theater practice and going to the studio with my band, and I got on the Zoom call with our UU State Action Network siblings in North Carolina. As some of you know, it is my honor to lead the Texas UU Justice Ministry. That's our state justice network for UUs, and we do our work in relationship with UU The Vote, with all of our member churches like y'all. There's 40 around Texas, and we do it with the other states. And so the story that my colleague, Reverend Lisa Garcia Sampson, told that brought so much joy to my heart, and at times when I am really feeling down about things, right? Cauldron of emotions, as I said at the beginning. They had so much joy on this call in North Carolina because this is what they had done. UUs from DC, Virginia, and Maryland came to North Carolina to help get out the vote with UU Justice NC, and Asian Americans in North Carolina were experiencing particular harassment and intimidation at a senior center in North Carolina. So all of these UUs, our siblings out there in the work, asked themselves what was needed. What kind of resistance could they bring in the spirit that they claim? And so they put together a choir and musicians, a lot like the bluegrass music that we heard today. And they sang every day and created a spirit of joy and safety and love and welcome at their polling place to support voters. Things like that are happening all around the country, and we're going to need to do that. You might need to sing at your polling place on Tuesday, all right? This is not theoretical. If it gets ugly out there, I want to hear that our people sang, okay? Now, I voted at the South Austin Community Center this week, and I have not felt so emotional about voting in my entire life. I remember voting when I turned 18. I was not expecting to choke up like this. I wanted to hug every single volunteer in that rec center. And a friend of mine voted there last night. She waited in line. What's today, Sunday? She voted there Friday night. Friday was the last day. Don't accuse us of election fraud. She voted there on Friday night. She said she waited in line for over an hour. It was the last day of early voting. She said someone there referred to her as a procrastinator for early voting on the last day. Y'all, my friend is a social worker who works with people who are, and they must be all these things to be in the program she's in, experiencing homelessness, experiencing drug addiction, and HIV positive. She is not a procrastinator. She is working hard in our community, and she got to the polls when she could. So I want to ask you today, as you go out there to live our UU principles and values, and democracy is one of those foundational principles. It's how we run our congregations. It's how we live in the world. We're to celebrate the ways that we're doing that here in Texas and everywhere. To be together in the real truth that we are weary, and it is hard, and the waiting is hard. But also not to wag our finger at anybody if they haven't voted yet, or they're struggling with how to vote even. It's not too late to live our values in the public square this week. The Department of Education is at stake. Our rights are at stake. And I don't know what the results will be, so that's hard. I'm a little jealous of the person who's preaching next week. I don't know what's happening. I have hope. But last weekend, I spoke on a panel for the New York State Convention of Universalists, alongside my colleagues, Reverend Julian Soto and Reverend Chris Long, on the topic of allyship across state lines. Reverend Soto talked about Fannie Lou Hamer, and I could talk about Fannie Lou Hamer all day. I urge you, if you are struggling in your spirit in these days before the election day, to please read her story. But Reverend Soto talked about how Fannie Lou Hamer worked so hard for voting and economic rights for Black Americans, and thus all Americans. Fannie Lou Hamer is the one who famously said, "I am sick and tired of being sick and tired." But she also said, "I feel sorry for anybody that could let hate wrap them up. Ain't no such thing as I can hate anybody and hope to see God's face." Reverend Soto told the New York Universalists to remember Hamer's work, to remember that as people with privilege, many of us, some fights are not ours to win. They are only ours to fight. So whatever happens this week, please take heart. We can't know which fights we're going to win and when, but we know what our commitment as people of faith is to fight for. And please remember what Fannie Lou Hamer said about hate, and don't let it wrap you up. There is a spark of the divine in everyone. Only thing we did was right, was the day we started to fight. Keep your eyes on the prize, hold on. Hold on, hold on. Keep your eyes on the prize, hold on. The prize of our collective liberation, the prize of love at the center. One of the things we might have to do in the next couple of days, one of the things I hope you do, and I hope you gather your spirit to do, is not just to join us at the Texas UU Justice Ministry or your church social action team in sending postcards, in texting hundreds of thousands of people, which we've done, in calling people, which we're gonna keep doing. Not just that outreach to strangers, friends. It's having hard conversations with the people you already know. Yesterday, I was walking my dog, which is when I think about all the songs that I sing in church, with one of my best friends. And we were just checking in about how we're doing. And I said, "Oh, you know, everything." And she was like, "What do you mean?" I was like, "Well, work and the election." And she was like, "Oh, I can't even think about that. I've just had to let that go." And I was like, "You're walking with the wrong person here. Let's go." No, but I will just tell you, I steeled myself because I don't want to talk about it either. I want it to be Wednesday, but I asked her what she meant, and I listened, and I understand where she was coming from. She comes from a family of different beliefs, various cultures, various political backgrounds, and she hears a lot of the things that are out there in the news. And politics isn't pretty. And I listened to her and I said, I get it. I don't love that either, some of the things that you're hearing. But I told her, and I just share this because I hope it's helpful to you if you get a chance to talk to somebody. I said, did you know that affordable childcare is on the ballot here in Austin? Money for schools. Our kids go to public school together. We both have daughters. I told her that in Houston, a huge city that seems to usually lean a certain way, recent elections have been decided by just some votes. Dozens, hundreds. So the good news is the bad news. The bad news is the good news. Our voting is not great in Texas at all. But you and your friends and the people you talk to in the next 2 days have the potential for Unitarian Universalist values to show up in the public square. Your votes matter, and the conversations you're going to have with your friends matter. And so we talked about it, and I said, I'm sorry, I know you didn't want to talk about this. And she said, no, thank you for reminding me to do my duty as an American. And we'll see. Let me just tell you something. I'm going to text her on Tuesday. You know? I love her so much, and I feel her pain. It's hard out there, but I'm going to check in with her, and I just ask you to check in with your people. It's a matter of faith. The work that we do matters. And the last thing I'm going to say is this, because I know we have lots to do. This is a story from one of our organizers, Sara Burrell-Harrop, from the Texas Youth Justice Ministry, who works in North Texas. She said, I was block walking with some fellow UUs today. We knocked on 57 doors. I'm going to open up something on my phone to show you, in case you don't know. I had to Google something. She said, the most impactful part was when one of my colleagues asked a person on the street if he was ready for the upcoming election. He said he wasn't eligible. I asked, are you sure? And in talking with him, he was actually off paper. That means that he had completed his term of incarceration, probation, or parole, and had satisfied the requirements from the court. He was ready and eligible to register, but he didn't know that. So Sara registered him, explaining that while he couldn't vote this November, he will be able to vote after that. She said, I gave him mail-in forms, and this just goes to show how impactful it is to be out and visible in our community. It was so meaningful to me, she said, to be able to help someone regain his citizenship rights. We don't know what fights we're going to win, but we do know what our faith is, and we do know that it matters that we show up. Every single conversation you have about your faith and your values in the community is worth it. And if you need somebody to talk to about how you're tired and how hard it is and what that's like, you've got people right here, and you know how to find me, okay? I will talk to you about it. You are never, ever alone. This love that I have, the world didn't give it to me. This love that I have, the world didn't give it to me. Don't you know that this love that I have, the world didn't give it to me. Oh, I said the world didn't give it, the world can't take it away. Okay, that's the spirit of love we're going to go out there with on these last 2 days. We are going to dig deep. I believe in you. I believe in you, and if you don't wanna, you can also come talk to me about it, all right? All right, I would like to invite you to rise in body or spirit, yes indeed, for our closing hymn, number 131 in the gray hymnal, Love Will Guide Us.
Will you join me now in reading the words for extinguishing the chalice? We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we hold in our hearts until we are together again.
For our benediction, will you turn to someone and say, "I'm so glad you were here today"? And as usual, I wrote twice as long a sermon as I gave you, but the thing that was in the papers we didn't get to that I want to make sure I say to you is thank you. Thank you to everyone in this congregation who's been writing postcards, who's been doing the work. Thank you so much. Our benediction comes from Andrew Pakala. They're reading it at Wildflower too. As you prepare to leave this sacred space, as you prepare to leave this sacred space, pack away a piece of the church in your heart. Wrap it carefully like a precious gem. Carry it with you through the joys and sorrows of your days. Let its gentle glow strengthen you, warm you, remind you of all that is good and true, until we gather here again in this place of love. Our postlude is "People Have the Power," and you are invited to sing along if you know it. Thank you again for being here today.
Dreaming of an aspect bright and fair. Am I sleeping? It was broken, but my dream, it lingered near in the form of shining valleys where the pure air rarefied and my senses newly open. I awakened to the cry that the people have the power to redeem the work of fools upon the meek. The grace is shower, it's decreed. The people rule. People have the power. People have the power. People have the power. People have the power. Vengeful aspects became suspect, bending low as if to hear, and the armies ceased advancing because the people had their ear, and the shepherds and the soldiers, well, they lay to the night, exchanging visions, laying arms to waste in the dust, in the form of shining valleys where the pure air rarefied and my senses newly open. I awaken to the cry. Sing it with me. People have the power. People have the power. People have the power. People have the power. Go in peace and love and blessings on the memories of your ancestors. Thank you again to the Austin Sanctuary Network for blessing us with the ofrenda. We'll see you on our way out. Have a wonderful Sunday.